Thank you very much, Ken Workington. Welcome, everybody, to 2014 here at the Big M, and who better to ring it in than the all-time leading driver in harness history, John Campbell, 16-time Meadowlands driving champion. The Meadowlands helped make you helped make the Meadowlands. What do you think of our new facility? It's got to be kind of strange going the other way on the racetrack.
Well, I think the Meadowlands had a lot more to do with me than I did with the Meadowlands. It was going to go great no matter what. I think the new grandstand's great. Obviously smaller, but we needed something smaller. But there's just so many different rooms, so many different venues for people to enjoy the races, and I think it's great. I've been really impressed with it so far.
John, theoretically, the track is a mirror image of what it was on the other side, but a lot of people say, oh, the distance to the first turn is shorter, oh, it's longer, oh, the home stretch is shorter, home stretch is longer. You're actually out there. How's it feel to you?
It feels about the same. I don't think there's any difference going to the first turn. At least it doesn't feel like it to me. Opening night, we had those strong winds. It was impossible for horses to pass. So people were a little concerned about the bias. But, since that, I think it's played very fair. There's been a lot of closers win since that, and on a regular basis, not just on one particular night. So there's always going to be a bias with wins on certain nights. There's just no way against that. And it's a speed game. That's not going to change. But I think it's played pretty fair all in all since we started.
Well, you talk about closers. Case in point, here is a win you had on Saturday night with the back class veteran Hypnotic Blue Chip. We'll pick it up here at the top of the stretch, and like you had nowhere to go. A horse broke, and then this dude just came flying on the outside.
Yeah, I actually got lucky when the horse made the break. We had to scatter, and I got room to get him out. I was going to be like sixth over going down the back stretch, and I know there's no future in that. So I moved him back to the rail and just took a chance, and very fortunate that he got out, but he did take advantage of it. He finished up very strong when I asked him.
And you also won the featured pace with a Rock and Hanover. They're both in the same race tomorrow night. Who did you go with?
I picked Hypnotic Blue Chip. It's going to be easy to be wrong. A Rock and Hanover is really in good form, and from mid-stretch to the wire, he really wants to do his work. He was flying last week, and the week before he fought off a horse that came off his back. So it's one of those cases where you just wish they'd be split up for a couple more weeks.
$4.5 million in earnings in 2013 and less than 1,000 drives. You didn't spend a lot of time in the Sulky, over $4,600 per start average. The stake season and the young horses is what you specialize in.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's what I strive to have the opportunity to drive horses in stakes. And looking forward to 2014, I've got 4 pretty nice 2-year-olds that I'm looking forward to that ended up the year in good order and showed that they can compete at the highest level. So I'm really looking forward to the stakes season this summer.
Well, you've got a 4-year-old coming back, a 3-year-old coming forward, and that's Sunshine Beach. And here's a roll-in of him finishing second in the Breeders' Crown to Captain Treacherous. An absolutely huge effort, parked every step. He never gave up, and you were right on even terms with the big horse.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for any more from him. He just won a tremendous race. We get really unfortunate in his elimination race that he jumped over a head number down the backstretch, and I think that cost him the race and cost him earning an inside post. Maybe it wouldn't have made any difference, but I sure would have liked to start it from 3 instead of 8.
And the horse has so much heart. I read after the season where he actually had a kidney stone or something like that and had surgery on it. I've had kidney stones, and for him to be able to race with that, I'm tip of the hat for him.
Well, that's what Mark Stacy told me that when I started racing him in Lexington, that he'd had a kidney stone, and he said it has to be bothering him. He's in some pain when he comes in after racing, but you'd never know it from my standpoint. He put in a great effort every time and just raced at that highest level every start. I was really impressed with the horse, and he was fun to drive.
Now, I know you don't have a vote, but you're certainly entitled to an opinion. Who do you think should be Horse of the Year? You got Be a Magician, you got the Captain with so much charisma, and I love the Nightlife was fantastic too.
You're right, Sam. I don't have a vote, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'll leave that to the people that have votes, and they can figure that out.
That's like the politician from Texas. Is the earth round or flat? We could go either way on that one. Good political answer. You drove the 2-year-old trotting colt Nunzio, the only horse to beat Father Patrick last year. At times, though, John, I felt like he was his own worst enemy because he grabbed on a ton.
Yeah, that was a problem with Nunzio and Cooler Schooner, both the 2-year-old trotting colt and fillies that I raced. They both got tremendous talent, and as I said, I'm looking forward to them. But both of them have to be more manageable next year. Nunzio, when you can get him to relax and he races off a helmet, he's just got a tremendous acceleration, and he has to learn to race that way to be successful next year. You can't go about it the way he did as a 3-year-old and last for the whole year.
Well, Blair Burgess was able to turn around Glidemaster from a runaway at 2 to where you were able to rate him as a 3-year-old. Anything that they can do training with Nunzio to work on those problems?
Oh, I think so. I mean, as you said, Blair did a great job with him, and there was a horse that he would have never realized his potential if he hadn't learned to race off the pace. And I think, I've got all the confidence in the world that he's not a stone idiot or anything like that. He just got too aggressive. I think over the winter they'll, put some equipment on him, make sure he trains from behind, and get him to settle down. And, I think he's got a bright future if he can overcome that over-willingness.
Now, you mentioned Cooler Scooter, fastest 2-year-old trotter in history, 51-3. Here she is at the Red Mile, and here's the problem with her. I mean, she's already opened 6-7 lengths on the field. It almost looks like you just didn't even rate her, just kind of let her roll along.
Well, that's part of the problem. You can't take a hold of her. It isn't like she pulls that much, but if you take too much hold of her, she gets fussy with her mouth and she'll make a break. And Jim and I just figured out partway through the year, that she's better off rolling and trotting than she is trying to make a racehorse out of her and have her running. So, but Jim's got his work cut out for him this winter too. She has to learn to race from behind, and she actually wasn't too bad in the final of the Breeders' Crown. It wasn't manners that caused her to go off stride. She just wasn't 100% that the first time that she had any trouble on the turns, and her manners were actually pretty good, but sitting in behind Shake It Sari going around the turn, it was a physical problem that caused her to go off stride there. So she did get a little better as the year wore on. So that gives us some optimism for next year.
I didn't think I'd ever see a faster 2-year-old trotting filly than Snow White, but Cooler Schooner, 51-3. I don't care where you do it or how souped up the track is. That's scary.
It is, and she came back and backed that up with their 52 and 2 mile in the elimination for the Breeders' Crown. She was just as good that night, or even better than when she won in 51 apiece. She was in hand. Unfortunately, she just wasn't quite as sound the next week, but her ability is scary, and she is fun to sit behind, because I've never driven a 2-year-old trotter of any kind that had the ability that she does.
John, you were honored with the Stan Bergstein Proximity Award this past March in Florida. In your speech, you said something like, "I'm not done and still have a lot more to do, both on the track and off the track."
Well, I'm sure hoping so. I mean, I last year it could have been better, but the second half of the year I was pretty happy with the horses that I got the chance to drive, and we had some success with some of those horses. And as I said, I'm looking forward to 2014. Physically, I feel great. I'm going into the year with a lot of optimism and physically feeling really well. Off the track, I mean, I like to contribute as much as I can. Certainly, I'm pushing Grand Circuit racing as hard as I possibly can, and so you're always looking for ways that you can contribute, even not on the track, but off the track as well.
All right, John, well, let's take a look at your drives tonight, some handicapping insights for some of the handicappers here joining us on this chilly evening. Second race, number 6, Odino Jet. This horse was actually one of the better trotters in Italy in 2012. You got some back class. Yeah,
I just found that out from you, Sam. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know anything about him. The back class, I think, could come into play here. He looks like he races off the pace the best. And it's not like a group where there's a standout. I mean, if he could jump up and show some of that class that he has, he could be a contender in there. At least that's the way I'm hoping.
With the cold weather and the winds tonight, will you drive any differently?
We will to a certain extent, but it's a cat and mouse game with that bias. If it shows up that closers are, then the front end speed's going to be slower. And if somebody gets away with soft enough fractions on the front, it doesn't matter about bias, they'll win. So everybody will be watching the first couple of races, but then even if the fractions aren't suitable, they'll overcome bias.
Moving on to the third race, number 7, Dragon Princess. This was your choice over the 4-horse on the comeback trail from an injury. How was she in that qualifier?
She was very sound, just acted like she needed a race. Again, she's got back class. There's a couple of scratches in there, so she's going to move down into the 5-hole, and that's going to help her because she's definitely better off the pace, and with her not racing in quite some time, I think that's the way that she'll have to race. But she's a mare that if she gets close at the head of the stretch, she knows how to get to the wire. Her last eighth, she'll keep coming.
And Darren Cassar has been red hot. Does a hot trainer factor into your choices at times?
Sometimes, especially if you're driving more than one horse for that trainer. And, I'm racing another colt for Darren, and I just thought with her back class that she was worth a try in there, and she's going to be around here for the winter time.
Moving on to the 4th race, number 2, Masolo. You pick up the drive here. It looks like Lasix has kind of helped this horse.
Yeah, his form is very good. He's got a good post. When you pick up a horse, so when somebody picks off them, sometimes you're wondering, but this is a case where Andy had to drive his own horse. So, I think he's got a really good chance in there, and he's got gate speed and looks like he's pretty versatile.
5th race, number 6, Lightning Paige. Your choice over the 7, Fast and Feisty. Kind of a nice mare.
Yeah, I had some success with her last summer here, and she actually raced really good opening weekend for me. She's another one that's better off the pace. I think, you know, if she can be not used till the three-quarter pole, she's going to give me a good run.
Moving on to the 6th race, the trotter Sweet Justice. The 3-horse has not lost here in 4 starts. You were at Harrisburg. I was there. How come we didn't buy him for $25,000?
Well, I didn't know anything about him, but Bruce Saunders told me later on that he'd been pursuing him out in the Midwest before that, trying to buy him privately, and just didn't get the job done. I liked him from his qualifier. I knew he had ability. He had just a couple little issues with his gait, and Bruce got those sorted out in no time. And he's sweet to drive, put it that way. He's very versatile. He'll race any way you want, and just a horse that does his work. And
this will be a big test for it, too. This is by far the toughest field he's ever faced.
Yeah, certainly he's stepping up in class. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, he's beat everybody handily. So, you know, I think he's capable of beating those horses.
Moving on to the 7th, number 2, Big Mcdeal, who once beat American Jewels, a 2-year-old at Lexington. She's in the sale, so I'm sure you'll be out there winging with her.
Well, to a certain extent. If you look at her last quarter when she wasn't used last time, she paced home very strong. I don't know much about her other than, you know, she has had moments of brilliance in her career, and her last 2 races are very good.
8th race, number 9, Tober, kind of a nice horse for a rock-solid trainer, Ed Hart.
Yes, you know, I've done work for Eddie over the years on a number of horses. This horse I raced last year a little bit early starting out. He got into better form in the middle and last part of the year, and actually racing some of the opens over Yonkers, so there's some back class there.
Moving on to the 11th race, you got a couple scratches in the 9th and 10th. You got Queen of Royalty in race 11.
I raced her one time opening weekend. She had a 10-hole, but raced very well, and then come back, won with Andy Miller driving her. She's a quality mare. She can race either way. She's got great gate speed if you choose to use it. Will kick home strong off cover. Just very versatile. I think you know, her odds are a little longer than they should be on the morning line.
Moving on to the 13th race finale, number 4, Mystical Diva. Kevin McDermott, kind of a streaky trainer, seems pretty sharp right now. Does he try to give you a lot of advice like he does everybody else?
No, I've known Kevin a long time, so he doesn't bother with advice at all. He'll just tell you what the horse is like, and I raced her earlier in her career for Tony Alagna, so I know a little bit about her. And she's just been a real good mare for Kevin, raced well in the top mares events at Yonkers and Chester last year.
John, thanks for joining us. Stay warm out there tonight, and Happy New Year.
Oh, same to you, Sam. Thank you.
John Campbell in the Sulky quick timeout, and Wendy Ross will tee up tonight's action. Stay tuned.